The literary programme starts with an event called Fanny and Stella, which is an author called Neil McKenna, who has written a book called Fanny and Stella, who I'm sure you know were a pair of cross-dressing Victorian prostitutes who were the toast of London. I think it's a really wonderful way to start the festival, start the literary programme in the festival, because it's playful, it's subversive, but it's also casting a light back on society. And I think it's going to be a really fun way to kick things off. So in December I went to Michael's house and spent an afternoon with him, drinking coffee at his kitchen table. We talked about the festival. I asked him what he wanted to talk about, and he said, well, I'd like to talk about education, because that's a subject matter very dear to his heart. So we're doing a Guardian debate called Progress or Disaster, which is looking at the government's education policy. Melissa Ben's on the panel. There's a educationist from Cambridge University, Robin Alexander, who's also talking, and Polly Toynbee's chairing that. And Michael also said that he was interested in talking about urban redevelopment. So there's a film he's scripted called Under the Cranes that we're showing, and Michael's going to be part of the panel afterwards, along with the director of the film, Emma Louise Williams, and the writer Rowan Moore, who has written a fantastic book called Why We Build. We've also got some new voices at the festival, so we've got some, and I think that's one of the things I'm keen on doing, is ensuring that we have that as a thread that runs through the festival in years to come. So we have got a woman called Polly Morland, whose first book is called The Society for Timid Souls, which is a wonderful non-fiction book that looks at ideas of bravery, how we look at bravery in society and what constitutes a brave person. So she's gone and interviewed firefighters and policemen and soldiers, and I think that's a really fascinating book. I think it's going to be a really great session at the festival. If I was going to pick one show that I think will be a really interesting discussion, it is Alan Rusbridger and Richard Sennett. Alan is the editor of The Guardian, and Richard is a very highly regarded sociologist. And they are going to be talking about the role of the amateur in society. Alan's written a book about a year spent trying to learn a very complicated piece of Chopin. And Richard and Alan's discussion, which is about well, how we spend our free time, what we can achieve within that domain, I think is going to be really fascinating. Two events that are kind of related, which are to do with visual images. Firstly, Simon Garfield, who is going to be talking about On the Map, which is a book he's written about cartography and the role that maps have played in shaping the world, not just in reflecting it. We also have a panel event discussing what makes a graphic novel. And the graphic novel as a literary form is something that's really coming into its own at the moment. And we're very lucky that we have one of the best graphic novel publishers here in Brighton, Myriad. So we're putting on an event with them I'm very excited about.